Members of the company, this is your Places call. Places, please. Places for the top of the podcast. Places, please.
Get ready for a behind-the-scenes look at the glitz and not-so-glam of Broadway, education, and everyday life with Uncommon Sense. Join hosts Christopher Smith and Sharna Lopez as they bring you the best stories and shenanigans that seemingly prove how elusive common sense can really be. So take a little time for yourself to hang out with the dynamic duo Charnopher. And no leaving early, because you might just miss that 11 o'clock number.
Stand by music. Music, go.
Uncommon sense, the 11 o'clock number. And we are Charnopher.
You're on air, Sharna.
Live with Charnopher.
Live.
Uncommon sense. Hi, Christopher.
Live. Okay.
We're going to talk about an episode today, guys. Look at us just jumping right in. Look at us not wasting time, because we gotta get to the topic. We're going to get right on it. I feel like Christopher is going to sort of lead this episode because this is his area. But I'm going to have an opinion, not a solution.
Not a solution.
It's my new favorite. My new favorite phrase.
I mean, I have always an opinion. Sometimes a solution. We'll see if we can whittle it down to be like a situation. Some people are always an opinion, never a solution. You know those people.
That's true.
Oh man. So I think, Sharna, I want to talk about cable versus streaming and technology because we touched on it last episode. And I think, well, what do you have? Do you still have cable?
Do you recall the conversation where I didn't know how to change the channel and turn my TV on?
So
Did you
don't
recall
have
that?
cable.
So I don't even know what we have.
Oh, I love that for
I do
you.
know. Here's what I will tell you. I know that we no longer have Netflix because when we could stop, we were sharing Netflix with my sister-in-law. And when they stopped that, we had to pay for our own. We were like, no, absolutely not.
So I hope
So we don't have
Netflix isn't listening because I'm going to pause there. When did that happen for you? Did it give you a warning and say, you must have your own account? We still have not. We technically share with my brother and my parents, and nobody's had an issue.
What?
That's why I said I hope Netflix
Maybe
isn't
I should
listening.
try to reshare. Yeah, hopefully they're not. I don't think they are.
They're probably not.
Well, here's the deal, though. I'm going to side tangent as I do. I should get a shirt that says that. Squirrel,
Side tangent.
Yes, side tangent. It kind of helps with this idea of not having a million different options. I can't. Yeah. Sometimes we'll sit there and everyone's scrolling. What are we going? I'm just pick something. So we still have Spectrum cable because the reason we kept it was for sports, not for me sports. For
You're
the
the
boys
second
sports.
person that I've talked to about cable versus streaming for sports.
Yeah. So, and then we have, I don't know, we have every other, we've got Disney Plus is the big one that the kids watch most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Disney Plus, Hulu, Paramount, Peacock.
Yep.
I mean, Vudu, whatever the heck. We got all those things.
Okay. So you pay for all those things.
I watched HGTV once in 3 years. That's what I get.
And then you don't even know how to watch it.
No, I needed assistance.
Assistance. Somebody help me. So with that, let's just break that down a little bit. So cable, we do not have cable. However, we have YouTube TV, which is pretty much cable. And I have recommended it to people forever. It's this in between situation, and it's usually less expensive than cable. And yeah, we also have a lot of the streaming services. What's your favorite streaming service?
Well, again, Disney Plus. That's all my kids watch. And honestly, as you were just saying that, I think like as a family Lopez, I don't want to say we don't care, but I think like the TV itself is such a low down on the list of things for us that I'm not even sure we've paid attention to what options would be better or not better or whatever. Like, we do not watch the news. I dislike the news with a fiery passion, as y'all know.
Yeah.
So we don't watch the news. The TV, usually like the kids, they love the Disney like sitcoms, the little Disney shows, like Mighty Med and Lab Rats and Kickin' It and like those like fun.
I do not know these things.
It would be like the equivalent of our like Full House, right?
Okay.
So they'll binge watch those when they have downtime. But Sebastian will be on his iPad on YouTube more often than not. He's watching sports videos. He's watching highlights. He's like, that is all he watches. So for us, like there's not, and again, Jerry and I sit and watch Friends at night, right? We have one show we can do at a time. So we're like almost to the end of the whole Friends.
That's so exciting.
Yeah. We're in like season 9, but like, when Yellowstone came out, we like watched Yellowstone. When 1883 came, like we'll watch a show, but I'm not like a trash TV person. I know so many of my friends will be like, "Oh, I'm so excited to just sit and watch trash TV for 3 hours." Like I would pull my hair out. I can't. It's not a relaxing thing for me. Do you know what I mean?
I do know what you mean.
So yeah. So I think as a family, it's so low aside from sports. It's so low on our list of things that we care about or want to put time and effort into. So I don't even know what we're paying for or what we have, to be honest. Yeah. Well, and Ruby would rather watch YouTube as well.
Being a technology human and a deal human, you know me, I love a good deal. I'm usually pretty on top of like anything technology that we're not paying for.
Yeah.
Or like Peacock, we got super cheap, like for a year, for like, I think it was like $30 for the whole year, just on some random deal. And so I'm always looking for that. I think we're to the point where we could start like hopping services to save money. Like be like, but since we share with my parents and my brother, and technically Joy's parents, but they watch TV less than you probably. And so it's like, well, my kids watch like things on Disney Plus and Paramount and another one. I'm like, so we could probably get rid of this and this. And then my mom's like, well, I watch stuff on that. So like we go through this whole thing. So it's like everybody uses all the things, just not at the same time. And we do
still share some of the other streaming services with
for now
my sister-in-law or other people. Another one that's become really big in our family is Shark Tank. Sebastian and Ruby love Shark Tank. Like we will sit and watch that as a family, which I love.
That's cool.
It's a good one. Yeah.
We should have.
I don't even know what streaming service that's on because someone turns it on for me and I just sit there and watch it. I wouldn't even know where to find it. I'm being honest.
You enjoy the same in that. Like she's like, what's on what? Well, and she also did not grow up with TV at all. Like they did not watch TV. And so as things evolved into having apps, because before we got the streaming services, we had the what are they called? The networks that then had apps where you could watch stuff on demand. Right. And so it was like NBC had an app and ABC, and they still do. They just
that's
sort
on
of
our
have
TV.
Morphed. Yeah. But like NBC is morphed into Peacock along with Bravo and everything else. But, and I will say something. I'm like, well, it's like Survivor. She's like, well, where do we watch it? I was like, well, it's on Paramount. Duh. And she's like, well, what do you mean, duh?
That's so Jerry. Like, I'm like, I don't know that.
But it's like it's a CBS show. She's like, well, how do you know it's a CBS show? I'm like, because I watched it on CBS for 15 years.
But also, like, if you are the one turning it on, if you are the one, like, that's a big thing. Jerry he's our cocktail maker, and he's the show get readier person.
Like show get readier person. We'll call him the show preparer.
So, I don't know. That's why the other day when I was like, I don't even know how to, like, where am I supposed to go? And the kids obviously know how to get to their stuff, and they're just so much more intuitive with it all. I feel like an old lady on this episode now. Thank you very much. But I do think it is, we watched a lot of TV growing up. We did. But again, it was much simpler. It was channel whatever on Friday night. I want to watch Full House and Family Matters. And then, in the morning it would be whatever, like cartoon. Like I remember watching Gummy Bears as a little kid every morning at like 7.
Okay.
But now again, it's all these different. Do you think though that they'll ever combine?
What do you mean?
These streaming services, so you don't have to have the Hulu.
So
Voodoo,
the answer
Yoo-hoo,
is
Boohoo, all the
yes
things.
and no. They've already done some of that, like Max, which is HBO, and Discovery. Basically, those are the two main parent companies. They merged. It was a big deal. And Showtime was owned by CBS, so they have like Showtime Anytime. Used to be its own app, and it's no longer in
You
service.
are a legit expert on this stuff. Like what? How do you like read about it? Are you like, do they email you like, Christopher, let me update you? Because I don't even know any of this. What the heck?
I don't actually know. I think there's certain things I learn along the way. I know how I know the Showtime thing, and it cracks me up, which I'll get to. But so like Showtime no longer exists as its own app. It's part of Paramount Plus, and the only way for you to get Showtime, I think, this is where I'm not 100% sure. I think you can only get Showtime streaming now if you pay for the Paramount Plus with Showtime, which is kind of an obnoxious money grab because people, it used to be, and it is still true with HBO, if you have HBO through your cable provider or YouTube TV, you can sign in with those credentials into the app and get access to their library, which was true for Showtime for years. But just this year, that I don't think you can sign in with the TV provider into Paramount Plus. You just have to have Paramount Plus.
Making it difficult.
Yep. And expensive. So I used to watch, as for how I knew that Showtime and CBS were the same company, I used to watch Big Brother a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
And my brother and I would watch, at that point, what they called Big Brother After Dark, which was basically like kind of semi-unedited a time, like a 2-hour time of after the show. So you would just see all the cameras in the house and the live feeds, and there'd be somebody like deciding what to put on the screen, but it wasn't edited. And so we used to watch that to see what was happening in the house after dark, and like what people were talking about and what schemes were happening and all these things. And it was always on Showtime. So we had Showtime at that point, and so we would go watch that. So that's why I knew it was related to CBS. So I was wondering, Charna, if you have seen Dexter on Showtime.
No. So I remember I have not seen Dexter.
Okay.
But I remember seeing either like a preview for it or an ad for it and being like, what is this show? Why is this man covered in, but like, I was curious, but I know a lot of people who've watched it have really enjoyed it.
So I was obsessed with Dexter when it was on, like obsessed with it. Now I always do have, like I've told you before, I like horror movies. Mm-hmm. And so I like things like that. So, but it's a cool show. It did not end the way that I wanted it to end. I was like, I hate when people don't have good endings to shows. Yeah. Like you've built up.
And especially when it feels like they're just trying to like wrap it up and get it done. And you're like, we've invested our life into this show, people.
Right. Like Lost was terrible ending in my opinion. Dexter wasn't great. Like it was.
So I think Lost, maybe the next thing Jerry and I go back and watch from the beginning.
Yeah. So Lost and I go way back. So I remember sitting in my apartment in Mission Valley in San Diego, and my brother and I were like, there's this new show coming on. We were all ready. We're like, let's give it a shot. So we watched the premiere. And by watch the premiere, I mean, we got about 5 minutes into the premiere and we're like, absolutely not. So, Jonathan, very few of you know my brother well, but he is like, he's very math brained and music brained. Like he double majored in piano and math and minored in computer science. So
All
he's
the
very
things.
logical, and he's also just like super smart. So he could not get past something about the plane and the crashing on the beach, and stuff was just like, he's like, it's just too, no, absolutely not. I cannot.
It doesn't
I was
it
like,
doesn't
I'm
fit
not here for it
correctly.
either. Yeah, it just was so incorrect when
That's
you're
like people
starting
who
to
watch
set up a
medical
premise.
shows and they
Yes.
work in the medical industry and
Yeah,
they're
and
like,
they're like,
no.
what? No.
Yeah, no. And
But I
and
do
I
like
and I
Grey's Anatomy.
okay, so I love Grey's Anatomy, and I remember asking a friend who was a ER nurse, how close is it? She's like, you know what? To be honest, they've done their research. So she'd say most of the time it's believable, like enough to where you're like, okay, they did a good job of that. She's like, there are a handful of times where you're like, no, like they just cut a corner, you know what I mean? And they just didn't, because they have to do that research. I mean, I think they've gotten better with it, but yeah, I think there are some shows that people who either do that for a living or have been through that, they're just like, this is not. I've always wondered that with war movies. Like I am very intrigued with war movies, especially like World War II movies. And I always wonder that, like, could you ever recreate? But some of those movies that I've seen, I'm like, dang, I feel like I feel like they've done their research and that they are
Right.
doing a great job of it. But I guess unless you've actually lived through it, you can't say
Well,
either
I think
way.
with movies and movie scripts and things like that, because there's no official timeline, whereas like a TV show, you have a timeline that you have to work in.
Yeah.
I think there is, I mean, nobody's sent me emails. I realize there's a timeline for movies as well, but it's different. And I think that there's more time to really make sure you get the research done. That doesn't mean they do, but like you can make things more correct.
I think too, something I love that this is such an episode for our podcast. Like we started with streaming versus cable, and now we're talking about movie scripts. I love it. I love it. Something that I will forever. I may have to ask. Like I have a couple friends who are in the movie industry, directors in particular. I'm speaking to you. I'll ask my friend Dawn Springer. Is it so very difficult to place liquid into cups? Is this a difficult thing? It is, hands down, probably my biggest pet peeve. And Jerry and I both, I can clock it the second somebody picks up a cup in a movie without something in it. Just water. I could even if they're supposed to be drinking a piping hot chai in December, could you just put some liquid in the cup? It is bizarre to me.
Yeah.
Especially on movie sets. Like on stage.
I still don't like it on stage either.
Y'all are forgiven. Youth theater, you're forgiven. Drink the champagne, pour it all over yourself. I don't care, because you never have anything in there and you're cheersing and you're gesturing and your champagne is now all over the stage. That's hilarious. Welcome to being 14. When I'm watching a movie with millions upon tens of millions of dollars put into it, put some liquid into the lady's coffee mug. Okay? Thank you.
Put the liquid in the cup.
I'm done.
Put the lotion in the basket.
There's got to be a reason. There's got to be a reason. Because nobody does it. Drives me bananas.
It is, and then they're like crazy.
Just spilling it all over and then just all drinking. I'm like, you would be splashed in the face with all of your.
Yeah. Or
I clearly have an issue.
Option 2, are we ready for this? Option 2 is there needs to be like a course. It can be like a 1 weekend course in how to properly mime liquid in a cup.
But I don't think you can ever mime the weight of it. That's usually it, right? Even if they're trying, even if they're like sipping or whatever, and they're just like.
I think you can. And I've seen people do it on stage where I'm like, oh, that was good. Like you can.
Ooh, okay.
You can mime it. Like you just have to. I think you just have to be aware and just be like, there is actual liquid in this cup, and you can. I don't know. Just
so these movie stars need to get it together. Is all we're saying. Sorry, I totally took over.
But actually, they just also need to put liquid in the cup.
Yes, just do that.
I don't know. Gosh, there was something else.
So at the end of the day, Christopher, to bring it all back, to circle us all back. Do you still think there's a need for both cable and streaming?
I think that there will always be a tug of war.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is not necessarily cable versus streaming. Like, it's all kind of irrelevant. It's there has to be money to run things, and you're going to pay the money one way or another.
Yeah.
And when I'm starting to get really irritated with these tiered plans. And I don't mind a tiered plan concept, but like, you know, you pay your $20 a month so you get no ads, or you can pay your $11.99 and have ads through the wazoo.
Right.
And that's fine. Like, save your $9 a month and watch the ads. There's
Right.
2 reasons I hate this. One, even the premium tiers on things now are having little ads. Like, not in the middle of a show, but like you go to start one and it's like,
And
you're going to watch a 10-second bumper of an advertisement for another Paramount show. And I'm like, what?
I
No.
paid to not have the ads.
Literally paid to not have the ads. And then
that's
Amazon
sneaky.
Prime, it is sneaky. And Amazon Prime never had ads. And I think they've now added an ad tier. Like, if you had Amazon Prime that you just paid through Amazon to get all your free shipping, and you got the TV and movies for included in that for free.
Yeah.
Now they've added, if you want to continue to have all of that without ads, you now have to pay an additional fee.
No.
And I'm like,
it just
I hate all of you.
now it's almost as much as, you know, so originally I do remember when it was like, oh, we could just get rid of cable because we can get all this stuff for much less money, access to it, right? And now it's starting to climb back up to where it's almost more than cable to be able to have all these services, especially without ads. Yeah.
And then the other thing that came around back in the 2000s was the DVR. Right?
Oh, yeah.
So, which is still called DVR. So everyone should know what we're talking about. At least YouTube TV.
What's the other one? TiVo?
TiVo is the big company. Yeah, that was like the actual company that was the original DVR. And I remember when that came out, I'm like, why would anyone pay $200 for that? But people did. But that was back when I remember growing up, we would record TV shows onto VHS tapes or Betamax tapes.
Don't forget to set the DVR. Like, I remember telling my mom, like,
there's that too.
Don't forget to set the DVR.
Yeah.
Because that was the beginning of the end.
Correct. And then, but with that, at least, and same thing with the old recordings on VHS tape that you recorded the movie on Friday night on ABC at 8 p.m. You could fast forward through the advertisements, which you can still do on a DVR. Like YouTube TV, when it records things from a live thing and it has unlimited DVR, which I love, the way they do it is it's 1 year. So it keeps your show or whatever you record for 1 year from record date. Now, if it re-airs, it'll then reset that date.
Oh.
So it's like 1 year from the most recent version.
Having to go back and delete things off the DVR.
Yes. Because there's not enough space.
It was too full. And you were like, oh, I gotta delete that.
Yes. And Cox, or we had Cox again in San Diego and Mission Valley.
Old school.
And it was like, you could only get like 50 hours of shows. So you had to really like
you had to be
diligent.
Picky.
Yeah. Now it's literally unlimited. So, but I like that you could fast forward through the advertisements. I'm like, that's fine. It's annoying, but it's fine.
Yeah.
But you can't on a streaming service. You cannot fast forward. You have to sit there
and
for that 30 seconds.
Sneaky.
Yeah.
Getting that in there and being sneaky about it. I don't like that.
Yeah. I'm like, I'm sorry, I paid literally $7 more for you to not show me that 10-second ad of something I didn't want.
And you just did it. What would be your favorite streaming, your YouTube TV, you think, is your favorite?
No, actually, we use that almost the least. We still have that because my parents like Real TV. I put that in quotes because, you know, what is Real TV anymore? Because most of the apps have, which I don't even know if you know, they have a live section. So like Paramount Plus has live, so you can just watch CBS live. Yeah. Which I'm like, why would you do that? But okay. I don't know why people want to do that. Maybe for news or something.
Yeah, I think a lot of older people with the news for sure.
Yeah. So it's just, I'm sorry, you asked me a question and then I derailed us.
What's your favorite streaming service?
Oh, favorite streaming service. I think if I had to pick one for me, it would probably be Max. Because it has all of HBO's library and most of Discovery stuff, which is a pretty big which also that includes like HGTV and Food Network and things like that. So you can get it all there. Some of the others are great. Like I really like Paramount. We use Paramount a lot.
Yeah.
Because the kids love the Paw Patrol. We have Paw Patrol and PJ Masks are like their two favorite.
Paw Patrol, we're on a roll.
Yeah.
PJ
Paw
Masks.
Patrol.
PJ Masks. Come on. I watched
them.
all those with Sebastian when he was little.
So PJ Masks is on Disney and Paw Patrol is on Paramount.
Yeah.
So that's like our
PJ
and there's a lot of fun stuff on there. Because all the Nickelodeon
Rafe
stuff
becomes...
is on.
Oh my gosh, I love that show. It's so interesting though. Like you like date yourself as a parent, you know? Because like I still have things in my mind of what Alyssa and Emma liked when they were little. And then, you know, Ruby sort of became a teenager so quickly. But now some parents of really young kids, like I didn't like Coco Melon, we missed that. And Bluey, we like Ruby likes Bluey. But it was not on repeat in our house, you know, like where those ones, Paw Patrol, Doc McStuffins with Alyssa and Emma was like Sophia the First, like those. Oh my gosh, that's just like
Sophia the First. I don't know.
Brain. You know why you'd like Sophia the First? It has great music.
Oh,
like
fun.
Because it's Disney and it's literally like a mini musical cartoon. Every show has like 3 or 4 different songs like that are really well written. Like you would like it. Yeah.
That's fun. I'll write it down.
Goldie and Bear. Have you ever watched Goldie and Bear?
Don't know that one either.
Dude, Ruby, if I ever needed anything done, I'd be like, okay, Ruby, I'm going to put on Goldie and Bear. I could leave her there for 6 hours if I wanted to. I never did. But she would just watch Goldie and Bear.
I could if I wanted to.
Goldie and Bear. I mean, like she loved it. Loved it.
Oh, man. That's great.
I know.
So yeah, so I think Max, if I had to choose absolutely one, it would probably be Max.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what we watch. We watch Friends on something.
That's right.
That's the one I want.
You watch Friends on Max, actually, because that's the only one that has it.
I vote for Max.
There you go.
I vote for whatever streaming service has what we're currently watching. Again, we watch one show at a time.
And that's okay.
So when it was Outlander or Yellowstone or whatever, like that's what I needed.
So let's talk about Outlander for a hot second. Yeah. Outlander.
Yes.
My parents got super into it and they're like, you gotta watch this. And I was like, meh. Oh, and then we got to go back to Lost. I never finished talking about Lost. Okay. So I started it and I did get into it and I did enjoy it. I was never obsessed with it. And then I kind of lost interest by about like season 4.
Okay.
Or 5. I just felt like we were redoing the same show every season. I'm like, what? I'm bored.
I agree. It took us actually a few episodes to get into it. Like we were going to stop.
Yeah,
the first couple episodes, I was like, hurry up and get to what we're doing. And then once we finally got to the premise of what actually was happening, then from that point for like 3 seasons was so good. And I agree by the 4th season, I don't know if they got new writers. I don't know if I'm not sure, but I agree where it was kind of like, we've done this. We need something. Okay. There's something a little bit new. We've done this. I 100% agree with that.
So I lost interest. I never finished it.
We finished it and I liked it. I tried to read the books. I could not get into the books. It was way too like, I actually really loved that middle chunk of that show. I really, really enjoyed. I liked it.
So I know you said you like audiobooks. I tried again recently to start listening to audiobooks and I think I don't like it.
Really?
And I think it's because it's almost too slow for me.
Okay.
Like it takes too long to get through. Like if I want to
do you know you can change the speed of how fast they talk?
I do.
Yeah. So I did that.
It's not so much
the first one I listened to
that
was
bothers me, but
all right. Yeah. I will say it has to be a good voice, like whoever narrates it or whoever. It's not a voiceover actor. I guess maybe it is.
I think it is. It's a voice actor.
So most recently, the last book that I did audiobook was The Outsiders. So when they announced that it was coming to Broadway, like it was in San Diego, and I was like, oh, I'd never seen the movie. I didn't. I had heard Pony Boy. I had heard Stiggle. Like I had heard those things, but I never knew what it was about. So did you know that the woman who wrote it was 16 years old when she wrote that book?
Wow.
The famous book, The Outsiders. Yes. 16 years old. So she does a little preface in the beginning on the audiobook herself, the author. And I love that. So like hearing them talk and talking about the book, they read the preface. And then the person who voiced it on the audiobook, because it's one person and they have to do all the different voices. And I think when someone can do that really well, it's intriguing and entertaining to me. So I think it does depend. I've listened to some audiobooks where they're biographies and the author, like Viola Davis's biography, Michelle Obama's biography, because you're hearing them tell their stories. Oh, I love that.
That's better.
I really love that.
Yeah, I started. I wanted to go back and read because I never really read them. My parents loved them when I was little. The Frank Peretti books, like This Present Darkness and Piercing the Darkness, and
I don't know.
Do you know those? Oh, interesting.
No.
We'll talk more about those. Anyway, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go just do. They're on Scribd. Scribd also has a bunch of audiobooks. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah. So I was like, I'll listen to it. And like, I listened to it one day on my way to work, and I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna be able to make it through this. So anyway.
It depends on the book, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
I've listened to quite a few, and usually they are recommendations from other people. So they've listened to it and I can sort of get a read off of that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So Lost, we did not watch it after the first episode for literal years. And then my parents got into it and they're like, you'll love it, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I don't care. I don't want anything to do with it. It's dumb.
No, thank you.
So finally they wore me down. And I think by the time the last season was starting to air, I was like, all right, I'm going to go back and watch the whole series.
Okay.
And I think if I watched it live, I would have never made it. Like in real time.
Really?
I would have never made it. I was like, because it's so slow, really, when you think about it. Like not a lot happens in an episode. Some episodes more happens, but it's like that slow burn. And I don't mind a slow burn, actually. But when I'm having to wait a week in between and then 3 months for the next season, and like I think I would have been like, I can't. Bye. See you later.
I'm on to something else. Yeah.
Because I just don't have the patience for that.
Yellowstone was one of the ones we watched in real time. And they did a pretty good job of sort of keeping you engaged, and then that cliffhanger for the end where you're just like, oh, what?
Yep.
I love those writings.
Did they finally finish that?
Yeah. I think so, yeah.
I haven't watched the last season of it.
Well, because then they did the 2 prequels. So 1883 is a prequel, which that's my favorite one. And then 1923, which that's the one that still has not finished. And that one is not, it's my least favorite of all of them.
Okay. I loved Yellowstone. I kind of I didn't really get into 1883. I watched like part of the first episode. I might go back to it. But I do love Faith Hill and Tim McGraw. Yeah. So
you don't like them?
No, I do. I do like them.
And
so that
honestly,
was my interest.
They do really well. Like clearly acting is not their first thing. We know them as singers. Especially him, but she surprised me as well. Like I really enjoyed it. And it's funny, for as much as I don't like history, like I would never voluntarily take a history class or something but when I'm being entertained in the realm of history, I love a period piece. That's why I love Downton Abbey. Did you watch Downton Abbey?
We did.
I was obsessed with like, again, that's one of the repeating ones where we finally got to like season whatever. And I was like, can we do something new? But I love the attention to the era. Same thing with Mad Men. Did you watch Mad Men?
I did not, but I've heard everybody tell me that I should watch
You would love Mad Men.
Yeah.
Jerry and that's actually, I think, the last box set DVD that I ever purchased for anyone. Box set DVD.
I love it.
Mad Men. Oh, we love that show. And one of my favorite things was the attention to detail with the scenic and set dressing and the costume. Oh, it was just so intriguing because we didn't live in those eras, right? So it was very fun.
So something you said might spark a whole new episode, but I think I can just do it right now. Is the DVD box set versus like streaming. Like that's kind of why we haven't bought a movie on DVD or Blu-ray or whatever they are now. They are Blu-rays, but we haven't bought a physical
I don't even have a DVD player. Do you have a DVD player?
We do have a Blu-ray player because I bought it years ago and I still have it.
No, I couldn't
So
even watch a DVD now if I wanted to. I don't have anything to play it off of.
I love that. But then
Which,
I
yes,
think
I
about
love that, but I
things.
don't love that because a lot of my, like, we did the VHS to DVD transition. Like all of
Yeah.
my shows growing up, all of our home videos. One year, my sister and I collectively like got together and had them all transferred to DVD. Well, now we're gonna have them like put onto a hard drive or something.
Yeah.
Like DVD players are gonna become obsolete, and I'm gonna have this giant thing of
Well,
DVDs.
and that's the other thing that I'm really curious to see what happens, because Blu-rays and DVDs are gone. Like I don't
Mhm.
actually, that's not true. I was in Barnes and Nobles of all places the other day, and they still sell actual DVDs, not even Blu-rays, like DVDs. And I'm like,
Yeah,
what?
I don't know.
But
That is so.
Blu-ray, man, Blu-ray. But with that, so all that to say, we don't have any really physical discs. We haven't bought a movie on a physical disc in years.
Yeah, us either.
And then I'm like, okay, but now, not to get too political, but like Disney Plus is like changing or editing a couple of their like old movies, or not releasing some of their old movies because they're not
Yep.
quote socially appropriate.
Right.
And I'm like, that's a whole nother thing, which we talked about a little bit on the changing history and erasing history. I'm like, I get the like, put quote warning, put the like notification that by today's standards this would be considered highly offensive, but was not the case when it was done. But with things like that, it makes me think, I'm like, well, are we going to get to the point where we're just going to start not having anything that the company in charge decides you shouldn't have? And then I'm like, well, then I want my DVD that I can watch whenever I want.
So I can watch.
And and even from a not political perspective, sorry, I know you're going to say something.
No.
From just like like Netflix and everything that has agreements, like streaming agreements, they disappear. Like Friends used to be on Netflix for years. And then Max got the rights to it, so it's off of Netflix. So if you don't have Max, now you don't get that streaming. And it's like, if I just had the DVD, I could pop it in. Why do I have to have 5 services?
It's so interesting, right? And I think, like, again, the political side of it, that's a longer conversation, definitely. I think also, to me, it's then parent the way you want to parent. So if you don't want your child to see those things, you have to set up a parental relationship with your kids that they understand. We're not going to watch these things. I mean, actually, we need to start writing down all these other episodes. We're in discussions with when Sebastian's going to get a phone, right? And so there's
that's a big
lot
one.
of the.
I don't know what to do with
and there's
that
a
one.
lot of different reasonings. That would be a great episode. But that's one of the things where it's like,
I'm writing it down right now.
You have to set up these relationships and boundaries with your kids where it's like, great, you can be on Disney Plus, but if it has this warning, you don't get to watch it, right? If that's something that bothers you. Like, I don't mind if my kids watch Peter Pan or Pinocchio, or like I know with Pinocchio, that guy's smoking and them getting high and that doesn't
and Dumbo
bother
even
me
the
because it's a
drunk
fake
everything.
Yeah, exactly. But I do understand what you're saying, in that it's almost like yes, you can have everything you want on all these streaming services, but not really.
Yeah.
Right. So like, you can have it for a little while, but then mommy and daddy are going to take it away from you, being mommy and daddy being Netflix or whatever. Right. Like, it's so strange to think, like, we've never gone back to rewatch Mad Men, but I guess if we wanted to, and I could find a Blu-ray player somewhere, a DVD player, we could. But again, it is right there on demand as you want it, even though it's not technically on demand. That's I never thought about that, honestly.
Well, and I ran across it just the other day because we were watching a movie and we got onto, we were watching something that was like Kung Fu Panda, the series. And the kids were like, is there a movie of this? I'm like, yeah, there's a few movies. And I went to look it up and there's nowhere to watch them on streaming. Like, I could rent them.
Kung Fu Panda, the movie?
Yeah. It's not on any of the streaming services, not one of them. Except maybe like Vudu, like a random one. And
yeah, I don't. And at
so
some
I'm
point,
like, well, I don't really want to pay $4 to watch this movie.
And I think too, again, I think progression in the world is great. I really do. I think there's so many great things that we're learning as a society, and watching that evolution in the positive way is great. But there is that other side to it that is a little bit troublesome. and it's interesting. Again, I'm not getting too political. The things they are deciding to censor in comparison to the things they're not deciding to censor. Like a lot of the things, like I cannot believe Friends, the rating on Friends, like if you look at the TV rating on Friends, I think it's PG.
Is it now?
Not even PG-13. Or maybe it's PG-13.
When it aired, it was TV-14. That's what it was. Most of the episodes.
There are some I find it hilarious, but there are some things in there. Like I know I have friends who will watch that with their little kids. I'm like, what? I wouldn't watch it with Sebastian. I don't. I think it's just a personal preference, but I think that it's interesting because we should have that personal preference. We shouldn't be told like, well, this is what your kids can and can't watch. Like some of the stuff that is on Disney, I'm always like, what? And for me, sometimes it's the personalities. So especially when Ruby was younger, she would want to watch some of these older like Disney teen shows, and we would tell her no. And Alyssa and I would be like, why? I'm like, because she's 6 and I don't want her to see like this attitude of this girl. Like she doesn't, she needs to be watching something different.
Doc McStuffins.
Yeah. Or Paw Patrol. All right. That was an episode all about television and DVDs, Blu-rays, streaming
services.
Wow. It was a conglomerate.
I like it. All right, Charnopher
fans. Is that the right word to use? I don't know. Smorgasbord.
All right, Charnopher fans, thanks for joining us. Thanks for listening. Like and subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram at Charnopher Official. Check out uncommonpod.com. And on that note, Charnopher out.
This concludes another episode of Uncommon Sense. If you're ready for more of this fresh, hilarious, and unique perspective on the world of entertainment, education, and life, be sure to subscribe right now to catch every episode. If you gasped, laughed out loud, or even snorted, share the show with your friends and aspiring entertainers because, let's be real, sharing is caring. For more Charnopher, tune in to their witty insights by checking out the website uncommonpod.com or connecting on social media. Tune in next week and get the real insider scoop on another episode of Uncommon Sense.